Hey everybody, this is Ross Johnson from the Sound of Tomorrow show. We're coming up next on WAYO 104.3 FM Rochester. We're gonna be talking about stuff. Nothing going on in the news, so nothing to talk about. So we'll see what we do. Just gonna shoot the breeze. That's coming up next. But first,
Oh my gosh, I sure am excited about the new Thor movie.
are you really?
For the purposes of this intro, yes, absolutely.
I suspected as much. You're probably excited because of the new Lady Thor.
She's not Lady Thor, Ross. Jane Foster gets the power of Thor, and she's just Thor.
Okay, I did not know you knew so much about Thor, TBH.
For the purposes of this intro, I absolutely do.
Well, okay, I'm very excited for you then. I think you're going to love seeing Miss Thor up on the big screen.
Just Thor.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay, I see what we're doing. All right, I got it. So I suppose, I guess you're also a big fan of Wonder.
Who?
You know, Wonder, that popular superhero, because we're apparently not allowed to append genders to superhero names anymore.
Wait, Wonder Woman? But that's her name.
So Thor Woman would be okay then?
Her name isn't Thor Woman, though, so no.
Okay, like, how am I supposed to tell Captain Marvel from Miss Marvel?
One shoots like fireballs or whatever, and the other one has really stretchy arms.
Okay, but how am I supposed to know which one is a lady?
They're both women.
Ugh, well, that is just extra confusing. Okay, smarty pants. Riddle me this then, smart pants. How are we going to know the difference between She-Hulk and, like, regular Hulk?
It's easy. One has a really cute leotard, and the other wears rippy-uppy purple pants.
Okay, but where am I going to find the toys in Target then? The boys' aisle or the girls' aisle?
They don't really label them anymore.
What a confusing world!
Oh, I know, buddy. I know.
Like, when I use your deodorant, I don't even know whether to use the Speedstick or the Lady Speedstick.
I'm not even sure they're different. Just use the one that says, wait, why are you using my deodorant?
Because they didn't have one that's called, like, Men's Secret or Old Boy Spice or Dude Degree. So I didn't know what to get. Everything is so confusing now.
Oh, I know, buddy. I know.
Also, why would I buy deodorant when you already did? It doesn't even make any sense.
Gross.
Why would I spend my money?
Actually, you can use it. You shower. It's fine. I don't care.
I know. It gets all hairy, though. Is that all right?
Oh, God.
Hey everybody, I'm Ross Johnson, your favorite co-host.
And I'm Heather Zykowski, the babe with the power. Welcome back to the Sound of Tomorrow on WAYO LP Rochester.
Heather.
Ross.
I think we should just jump. How are you?
I am, just, in general, I'm upset.
Oh, see, I thought you'd be happy.
Oh, why did you think I would be happy? Because it's cooler today?
The big news of the week, which is 95-year-old sports legend Maybelle Blair from the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, who was the inspiration for the League of Their Own movie, came out.
Oh, that is nice. I do like that.
Yeah, that's the only news I'm aware of, so I think it's going to be a short show this week.
Yeah, no, we should probably get right into it because, anybody out there who's listened to the Sound of Tomorrow before, you know that we're often very...
Let the record show I tried to do a nice thing.
He did. We're often quite unhappy about things, and we like to talk about...
What? We've never been happy about anything. What are you talking about?
Right. No, I said we like to be unhappy about things.
Sure.
Or we're often unhappy. I'm not sure what I'm saying because I am really upset. And of course, the reason for me being really upset still today is that the Supreme Court decision Roe v. Wade was overturned on Friday, the one that offered federal protection of women's rights to health care, specifically abortion care. But I've got a lot of very disorganized things to say about this.
Yeah.
And I should have written an outline, but honestly, things just keep running through my head, some of them over and over and over again. A couple disclaimers I would like to make. I understand I'm a middle aged white woman. Medically, this isn't going to affect me. It is so incredibly unlikely that this will have any kind of medical effect on me.
Yeah.
However, as an American woman, it does affect me because one thing that we've known for such a long time is this ruling about abortion has never actually been about abortion.
Yeah.
It's never been about the babies. It's not about the babies because we see how much the government, state and federal, cares about the babies once they're out of the womb. The
Yeah.
babies are important when they're unborn because regulating rights for unborn babies is a way to control women
Of course.
and to take away women's control over their own bodies. And I've I've heard a lot of people saying things like, well, now women are finally going to wake up and they're going to fight. But I need to, I don't believe it. I don't believe it because there is so much misogyny in the US, and there are a lot of women who hate women.
Oh yeah.
There are a lot of women who heard Trump saying he was going to overturn Roe versus Wade or put things into effect so it could be overturned, not that he could do it himself, but he was going to set it up. And they went, good, good, we want that.
A majority of white women wanted that.
Yes,
A majority of white
wanted,
women, right?
actively wanted. So the idea that suddenly those same women who were told, like, yeah, and we're also going to make it so that there's no federal right to health care for women, they went, yeah, good, good, that's great, because you know what, we hate women. And that's the darn thing. I was talking about this just Saturday night about how you and I have the problem of getting on the logic train. And
Right.
people who, let's say Trump voters, they're not on the logic train, they're on the hatred train, because you can list out all of these compassionate arguments, all of these caring arguments, like, but don't you understand, not having access to abortion will disproportionately affect disabled people, women of color, poor people. And you think that that's going to tug at somebody's heartstrings and make them maybe reconsider something from a human standpoint. But the people who voted for Trump went, yes, we know that's what we want.
Yeah.
And so all of the reasonable, logical arguments or points I would have to make about protecting women, helping women, the the thing is, what I'm being lied to, because what the Trump voters want to say is like, yes, 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 that's what we want. Women will die. Yes,
Yeah.
that
We
is
don't
what we're
care.
going for. Yeah, but they're not saying that. Oh, but think about the babies. It's like, I'm very, very tired of being lied to.
Well, and I've seen too a lot of I've seen online already a lot of people trying to now ultimately for me this is about bodily autonomy and people being able to make choices about their own bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that's the bottom line for me. But there are a lot of there it's also the case here that people don't realize and people don't want to realize and people pretend not to realize how extreme and it makes exactly your point in these states that have already enacted their trigger laws, Missouri, Ohio, several others, and I don't have a list in front of me because I'm as disorganized on this as you are, but they're all particularly this first wave of states that were ready to go, they're all extreme. They're all they're all pretty extreme. There are no exceptions for rape and incest. There are really no medical emergency exemptions. There are really no safety of the mother exemptions. So you have really extreme, so you have really extreme circumstances with these where you have a you have a fetus that will not live to term anyway and is endangering the mother's life, and there's no
Right.
exception for that kind of thing.
Yes.
So, and those exceptions aren't important. I mean, they're important. They're not important to me in the sense that to me it's the broader principle. But I'm seeing people arguing like, oh, well, there are exceptions for rape and incest, and people are going, no, here's the law. It says it's not. That here's the law. They
Mm-hmm.
just came out and said, or there, of course, there are medical emergency exemption. They're like, no, here's the law. It says there are not, and people are still arguing. So it's that combination of no logic and willful ignorance, and also I'm just going to pretend something's true that's not. And
Yes.
I don't know what that is. It's to sound more reasonable. I don't know why you're. I mean, if if a state comes out and proudly says, we're very excited about this, we're very excited that we are banning this medical procedure, we are not making any exceptions for, a child who's been raped by her father, we're not making any exceptions for even cases like ectopic pregnancies where there is no chance
Mm-hmm.
of a fetus being viable, and there's a very good chance of the mother dying. There's an even better
Yes.
chance of the mother being parent, I should say, being um, being unable to birth a child in the future if they want to,
Right.
which might be an option if they received appropriate treatment, which is now
Mm-hmm.
against the law. So I mean, so this is all, again, this is me being disorganized as well, but this is going to your point of there's there's not a logic to it, or there's not, or the logic is not what people say it is. It's not about the babies. Haven't seen a single, not a single politician or anyone who's been crowing about this. Because let's say, let's imagine a world in which there were people with a good faith. I will say I've known people with, I would say, a good faith opposition to abortion, and there are really people, I mean, these were like, I'm talking about like Catholic nuns I've known where they've also lived, and they also, they have a religious they have a religious problem with the idea of abortion. They also have lived in the real world and worked with people, all of these people. So none of them were out campaigning for to get rid of Roe v. Wade, because they understand what the world, they don't want people to get abortions, but they understand what the world was like when there weren't abortions. So let's say you were someone like that. Let's say that there were more people like that, and more of these people were truly, as they claim to be, people with good faith opposition to abortion. And not, it's not just about control. Let's imagine that for a second if we can. I have not seen one person saying, so what I would do if that were me, this happens, Roe v. Wade fall, I would say, okay, good, great. Here, I got my wish. So here's what we're going to do. Here are the laws we want to see about, taking care of people. Here are the laws we want to see about infant health care. Here are the laws
No.
we want to see about you know, parental leave. Here are the laws we want to see to, bulk up the foster care and adoption system. Nothing,
No, and
nothing.
nothing about pregnancy care either. This is
No,
all about what pregnant people can't have, which is an end to their
right,
pregnancy.
right.
And it's nothing about taking better care of pregnant people, more benefits for pregnant people. Nothing about that. And it just makes me so frustrated that I keep seeing this. And maybe the liberal weenie snowflakes do it too. But there are all these false arguments and just outright lies. This is another so I there are two things going on with this. There's just the general, I am a woman who lives in the United States, and this is what my government has decided I and other people like myself can not have for our bodies. We can't have adequate medical care. So there's that. But I've known for a long time that a lot of people hate women, and I've known for a long time that the government hates women.
Right.
This isn't a surprise. Does it make me angry? Yes. Does it keep me up at night? No. I mean, it really stinks. Stinks pretty badly. But this has been known to me. But listeners to this show have heard me speak of the Trump voters in my life. I have very few, but as we know, relationships are complicated, and sometimes you can't just not talk to people who hold some abhorrent beliefs.
Right.
But wow, Friday, one of them had the audacity to phone me.
Oh no.
Can you imagine phoning me on Friday?
Like just in general,
Uh,
even when nothing's going on, I wouldn't have the audacity to phone you on Friday. But
well,
yeah,
and I melted down. I'll admit, like I was not rude, but I completely lost my composure. And I will tell you, it hurts very deeply and very personally that people who are in my life wanted this for me. What they heard was, we're going to take away women's access to adequate health care. And they went, great. Yes, good. Good. Yep, that is what we want. And I attempted to express, this is the world that you wanted for me. This is what you wanted. It's what you chose. They don't want to take responsibility, but why not? They heard what he said.
right.
And so that's where it really gets me on a very personal, emotional level. So, as I said at the beginning of the show, this doesn't affect me medically. This does very much affect me emotionally. Understand that the people who claim to care about me and my life, this is what they wanted. And as we saw in some of the news that was coming out Friday, the federal protection of the right to abortion isn't the only thing that's on the chopping block, or I mean, that's been chopped, but they're also going to start looking into same-sex relationship rights, rights to contraception, things like that.
So yeah, yes. And I want to say about that just while it's at the front of my mind, because that's a bigger topic. And I know, like, everybody's they're everybody's jumping down everybody's throat right now. So you
They
see people
are.
mentioning that, and they're like, "Oh, well, isn't abortion enough?" It's like, yes, abortion is enough, but also here's what's coming down the
Yeah.
line. So here, and we can probably get into this more later, because I think the political angle of like what to do about this is very muddy right now. Um, but I'm seeing there's a lot of like, don't vote, don't get involved. What does it do? What has it done for us? I voted, nothing happened. It didn't change anything. Which I get I get all of it. I get out of touch Democratic politicians. I get politicians who aren't doing enough. I get it. But so there was an interesting bit of sort of opposition research I was seeing into what the Republican strategists are doing with this information right now. And what it basically comes down to is they're worried about the Roe v. Wade thing, because a lot of people, there is majority support in the country for abortion rights.
There
How
is.
strong is it? Like, how much are people willing to put on the line for it? That's an open question. But there is a pretty strong majority support for abortion rights in the country. So the Republican strategists are a little worried about how this is going to play. Like, this could be used against Republican politicians. Because I think for decades, the strategy has really been like, we're going to talk about how we don't like abortion and getting rid of abortion. But you didn't really ever see anybody doing anything about it, because,
Hmm.
you saw chipping away on local levels and things like that. Certainly, don't get me wrong. There's been plenty of stuff, but on sort of the broad national level, there wasn't really a lot of, like, it was something that was better to talk about than to have happen. So they're a little
Hmm.
worried about that. But the good news is, at least according to Republican strategists, is that a lot of the gay issues, a lot of the queer issues, particularly trans issues. So we saw this again. We saw this in the in the ruling from this recent from the case overturning Roe, where they talked about um, Griswold, Lawrence, and Obergefell, which is basically contraception,
Hmm.
gay marriage, and gay anything.
Yes.
Gay, just
Just
the
same
Lawrence
sex
case was
relationships.
the Lawrence case was about people in their home, two people who were arrested in their home for having sex inside their house.
Yes.
So that's what we want to go back to now. Um, So the Republican strategists feel good because the people who care about queer issues, um, they tend to be younger, they tend to be more liberal. Two groups of people who never show up to vote, or
Ah,
and or they eat themselves alive, which we saw in 2016. We saw in the last election. We see liberals and younger people screaming at each other
mm-hmm.
instead of going to vote. So I know voting's not everything. I understand the frustration. I understand the gerrymandering. I understand all the reasons why it sort of sucks in general, and why someone going, "Oh, you should just vote," is kind of like an ice pick in your brain, because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I really get it. But also, if you think this can't get any worse, you are so dead wrong.
Oh,
And
yeah.
particularly on local levels, I mean, right now with the abortion stuff, the local level is the only place that matters, and that's where nobody votes except for the old people who are very happy about this. So if you're not coming out in your local elections, if you're not coming again, this can get so much worse, and there are vulnerable people. Maybe you're comfortable, right? Like maybe you feel like, well, this is fine. I'm a middle class white woman or whatever. This stinks, but it's not gonna, why should I care too much? There are vulnerable people who, this is going to, I won't say can get, this will get a lot worse for before it can get better.
Yes.
And we do have the power. I don't know where the power is right now to turn this around. I don't know what that is yet, but we do have the power to mitigate some of the worst of what is coming. So, I think I think a lot of the, like, give up, don't vote, oh, the Democrats are just blah blah blah. It's all true. It's almost like the Russian bots, like, oh, just, this happened, you might as well just give up because you're mad now. I get, and again, I get all the reason to be mad at politicians from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
um, there's also a lot of, like, demands that politicians do things that they can't do. So I think it's important for all of us to get educated about what the possibilities are and what we want to happen that is a believable, reasonable thing that could happen, as opposed to just, like, you know, screaming at whoever for not, like, unilaterally making abortion again. I don't know, so there's just, I think people need to get, once, I think at some point we're going to need to get very focused about this. And that's something that we have not had a good track record in doing. And also, like you say, I mean, there are a lot of people of all genders who just don't give a crap about this. So, I don't know.
Not even don't give two hoots, who are actively glad.
We're actively glad.
Like
But it's
actively wishing, like when you bring up a sensitive thing, like, well, you realize this is going to disproportionately affect impoverished people and people with disabilities, and they actually go in their minds, because they won't say it, but in their minds they go, yes, yes, that's the point.
Yeah, and the only point, yes, and you're absolutely right. The only point I was making about that is to say, like, those people matter less to me than the people who don't care enough. Or, I mean, I guess the people who are like that are going to be a problem no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
the people who say they care but aren't willing to do anything about it that are the problem right now. Because again, you have a country with, 70+% support for abortion rights, but like a third of those people will actually show up to vote.
Mm-hmm.
So, and these sort of, these very conservative influences have power, are punching way outside their class because they're showing up. And then all that sort of liberals are doing is going, well, what does voting do really? And, like, yes, I mean, yes, yes, I get it. I get the frustration. I get why it
Mm-hmm.
stinks, but it's also like you didn't do anything and now you're mad that nothing happened. Like, or you showed up to vote, great, good for you, pat yourself on the back, but that doesn't, you know I'm not saying voting is the only solution, um but it's kind of the bare minimum. And the fact that the first thing I've seen people go to is like, well, why should I vote? if this is going to happen. It's like, well, maybe you should go to like what you're going to do instead. That at least I could like, you know. So I don't know.
Yeah, I know. And for me, there is a level of hopelessness.
Oh yeah,
I keep seeing people just saying stuff on social media, not officials or anything, just people that I know, like, we'll get this turned around, we'll get Roe v. Wade reinstated. And yeah, that would be great. I'd like that. But it has now been proven that something that was a right can be and was taken away.
yes,
It was a federal right for my entire life. Now it no longer is.
yeah,
I have fewer rights than I did when I was 18 years old.
yeah,
And even if that right comes back to me in, say, 6 months, it's still proof that it was taken away that easily.
yeah,
And I do understand there's been work, ever since Roe v. Wade became the law of the land. There have been people working to overturn it.
yeah.
So it's not as though this did just suddenly happen, but it is one of those things where it seemed like it really it was set in law, and turns out no, it wasn't. So if that right can just be taken away, how many other ones can?
Oh, wait for my marriage. I and
Oh no, don't you
there's
worry. I have spoken with the Trump voters in my life about, in fact, my dear friend Ross and his wonderful husband, and how they voted to have their marriage no longer be a marriage. So
yeah,
don't you
yeah.
worry.
No, oh,
You've been invoked by name.
I have the same people in my life, and um, and there's no, I mean, for anyone at this point who thinks that there's any doubt about that, there's any doubt about that coming down the line, I think you are either willfully ignorant or sorely naive. I mean, and I think these are, this is the marriage rights, and even the even the fact that Lawrence v. Texas was brought up again, this whole broader scope of we have we have seen this rising tide of queer phobia, which we talked about in the context of it sort of started with this transpanic wave, this latest transpanic wave. We've seen this on the rise. So I think there's a lot more support for abortion rights in this country right now
Mm-hmm.
than there is for queer rights, particularly when it
Yes.
comes to trans rights. So anyone who, the people who are like, oh, you're just what, why would you think that's coming? That is not, there is no doubt in my mind. And again, the fact that Republican strategists are now talking about how they can make money and raise money on stripping rights from queer people, because that's relatively popular.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very popular among Republicans.
Yes, it
Um,
really is. Who do you
and it's
think
more,
Republicans hate more, women or queer people?
you know, I think it's a toss. I mean, I think it's a different. I think it's probably a different thing. I mean, um, I think they want to control women. I think
But
they
they
want
hate
complete
them
control.
too.
Yeah, but I think they want queer people gone. I don't think they want women gone. They just want to have complete
No,
control over
they
them.
need us for some things.
Right, right. Queer people they just want gone.
All right. So
Um,
it's such a different kind of hate. It's kind of apples and oranges.
right, right. So these are, and again, this is the, I don't know, and you're right. It is. I'm trying not to give into hopelessness. I'm trying not to give into hopelessness. Not in a. I know the rah rah will figure this out stuff is sort of like, I get where it's coming from, and I get the goal of like trying to motivate people to keep working or doing something. It's um I'm finding it irritating as well. But I also have to remember, uh, again, I have to keep coming back to like there is more damage to be done, and there is more damage to be done to people who are particularly vulnerable. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think one of the things that we all have to do is whatever our motivation is, to remember that, like, whether it's like, go America, we'll get through this and we'll come together stronger than that. If you got to do that, fine. If that's you, great, good for you, buddy. But like, like I'm I'm trying to remember, like, there are dangers coming down the line that are, and again, I'm not trying to minimize the loss of abortion rights, because that is a thunderstroke. I mean, that is, like you said, it is a moment of not just stepping backwards, but like leaping backwards and setting everything on fire that's happened in the meantime. I mean, it's just I don't know that there's anything more massive in terms of, taking a step back.
No, and it's
But there's
incredibly dangerous. It is so incredibly dangerous. People are going to suffer. People are going to die. People are going to be able to not have the lives they should have.
absolutely.
People are going to be held back. They're going to be sick. This is going to lead to deaths, casualties. It's a huge step back. It's dangerous. It's harmful. It's malicious.
Absolutely. But there's more of that coming down the line. And there's also, I mean, one of the ways to mitigate some of that is, again, these state and local elections where now abortion rights are decided, which again are the things nobody shows up for and nobody pays attention to. That is now the battleground. I don't know what the strategy is for returning abortion rights on a national level. I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea how that's going to happen. It's not going to be 6 months.
No, I was only throwing that out. Like, even if it happens incredibly quickly, it doesn't matter, because what's done is done.
Right.
And even if it gets undone, that doesn't change the right has gone away right now.
Right. But there is potentially more damage to be done there. There is mitigation to happen. So as much as it seems like, I don't know, and this is me boosting myself up a little bit too. I mean, any life that can be saved, you want the whole thing, right? Like, you want the whole thing. You want the rights that are gone.
Right.
Of course we want that. But in the meantime, I guess any life that can be saved anywhere is a win. That's a win for that's not insignificant either. So I think to surrender at this point is to say that, those lives that can be saved don't matter if we can't have everything. And again, this is the first. it might be the biggest, or they might find something even bigger. I don't know. Let's see if you can still own property in a year. I have no idea.
Well, is honestly, I mean, people might say I'm being hyperbolic, but it was not that long ago that women couldn't have bank accounts and women couldn't hold property of their own. And that's a shockingly recent right granted to women.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how that works for me. I don't know if, like, I guess I wouldn't be allowed to choose someone to, take over holding my mortgage and stuff, because that would be too much choice given to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if, like, a judge would assign someone.
Yeah.
Or if maybe I could, like, present a list, or maybe it would be kind of an auction. Like, you could go up against, I don't know, my dad and, like, some guy I dated when I was in high school who decided he has a claim to my property, and you could all, like, bid on it or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is, I mean, I guess the, I don't know.
Well, to jump back just a moment to what you said about saving any lives that we can, I've seen some interesting things online, because now there's a lot of talk about how pregnant people who are seeking abortion care will need to go to other states.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also been a lot of talk about certain states' rights where anybody who aids and abets a pregnant person in receiving abortion care will also be prosecuted and fined or jailed, somehow punished for helping someone receive appropriate health care. And so then I've been seeing lots of those posts online that honestly I think they're kind of sweet. They're like, if you live in a state where you can't go camping, I need you to know that I have camping gear. We can go camping in my state. I won't tell anyone about your camping trip. And I do find those heartwarming. And you had spoken of how right now nerves are so raw and everybody's tearing everybody apart. So I was on Twitter and I saw this thread, can't remember from whom, but someone was super angry about those statements that people are posting. And they did not express this sentiment in a kind way, which
Mm,
was dismaying to me because I don't think anybody is posting those cute little, like, I'll take you camping in my state where camping's legal. I don't think anybody's posting those maliciously.
yeah.
But the person who said, stop posting these, made a couple good points because this is my naivete where I don't think anybody's posting them maliciously. Oh, no, someone could be. People really, really hate women enough that they might be setting that up and going like, haha, we got you. You were trying to get an abortion.
Yeah.
And that I think is probably the outlier. But then I learned about abortion networks. And I'll admit, for all of my thinking I know about like women's healthcare issues and abortion care issues, and care issues for people with uteri, this was something I was really unfamiliar with. And I tried searching around um, before the show today because I wanted to learn a little bit more if I could. And there's quite a bit more out there than I could really sort through. And an immediate concern I ran into was how to figure out whether these abortion networks are legitimate.
Hmm.
Because I found one, but it had like a blog on the front and it hadn't been updated since May. And I'm like, if this is legit, how are they not updating? But then I saw one where it was like, we are so understaffed right now. Please be patient as we try to sort through your donations and thank you. But the point is, I'm going to Google around more because I've heard, and I want more information on this, but I do believe that it's true that there are these abortion networks that are actually set up to safely transport people with adequate protections to places where they can get a safe, legal, medical abortion. And that the Twitter post that I referred to, where someone was awfully angry about all the camping posts, also posted like, you don't even know what kind of care somebody needs. Where do you think you're going to be able to take them in your town? And I get it. Like, I
Yeah.
get it. That's where I first heard of these abortion networks, and those are actually set up to help people access proper medical care.
Yeah.
So I just found that to be interesting because that's something that it seems like it might be an effective thing to volunteer for or donate for. Like if you want to be someone who takes someone camping, I think I think you could probably find one of those abortion networks and sign up with them
Yeah.
and
And I,
learn what you need to be the person who can take your friend camping.
yeah. And I've seen the same thing, and I had sort of the same reaction that you did, which is, okay, this seems a little mean, but,
Okay, so you saw
the
the same
point.
thread.
I did. And,
Okay.
I had the same reaction. Like, this seems a little mean, but also this also seems like a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I mean, I don't know what the status is right now. I mean, Texas at one point was talking about putting in like a bounty system as
Yes.
far as like, turning people in. So, there's definitely good reason to, um, there's I think right now, I don't know that there's a lot of that. And I think people are being sincere, like you said. But I think, there are also good reasons to not like find some rando on the internet and tell them that you're looking to go camping. And then they're going
Mm-hmm.
to, because you don't know who that is.
Right. And they
And
don't know who
also,
you are.
and they don't know who you are. Absolutely. So, yeah, and I don't know what those networks are, but my understanding is, like you said, I'd love to hear more about that because they apparently exist, and that is probably a better choice than somebody you saw on Facebook posting about like how you could come to their house.
Right.
Like that's like you said. I think most of that right now is well intentioned,
Mm-hmm.
but probably not a great idea in general. It's just to, like, when someone on Facebook is like, "Hey, you can come to my house," and you go there. That's, I don't know. That's probably not generally a good idea anyway.
Right. And also, I'm thinking for all of the people who are in kindness out of a desire to actually, for example, we live in New York State.
Hmm.
We do have access to clinics that provide abortion care. So it would be entirely within reason that I could have someone come and stay in my guest room and I could drive them to their appointment. You know,
Right.
I could do that. I have driven other friends to doctor's appointments.
Right.
It's something that I've been known to do. Uh, but after reading that thread, I did realize, like, oh, maybe there's stuff that I would need to know. And then, like you say, if there's a network setting everything up, there might be another layer of vetting, since it
Right.
it probably isn't a good idea to just go and like stay at someone you don't know's house, right?
It would be interesting to know more, yeah, to know more about what
Yeah.
options there are that aren't that, because yeah, you're a vulnerable person. You're in a vulnerable position medically and otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Um so yeah, there's probably a lot of reason to be concerned there.
Yep. Yeah, and then also I don't know how much traction my Facebook post about having friends from out of state come to my house and we'll put a tent in the yard. I don't really know what that's going to do, but if I wanted to be an effective part of this system of being able to drive people to appointments here in New York State where there's access to healthcare, I feel like if I signed up with a network as a person, like, hey, I'm in New York,
Hmm.
vet people, send them to me, I'll have snacks. I feel like that would be a better level of safety for me as well.
Yeah. And I,
And
and I think this
perhaps
is
a better way for me to actually be able to make a difference.
and I think this is something, this sort of comes back to the idea of, like, what's the most effective thing to do that's not just it's like we see this with, like, disasters, right? There'll be a major disaster and everybody wants to send stuffed animals.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's, like, emotionally, that's like, oh, there's some kid that's lost his stuff that's going to have that's going to have this stuffed animal now. But it's but the rescue orgs are usually just like, just send us money and we'll get the stuff we need
Mm-hmm.
because we know what we need.
Yep.
We don't need tons of stuffed animals or whatever. Or maybe that's nice and all, but maybe they need, this family doesn't have food, so we should get them food first before we give them a
Mm-hmm.
stuffed animal, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of thing that, like, it's very heroic it feels very heroic and like you're doing something to post, like, I'll take you in and blah blah blah. But are you the best even if that is sincere, which, like we said, probably is.
Mm-hmm.
Are you the best person? Do you have the most information? Do you know where to
Right.
go? Do you know, like, do you know how to take care of this person? Do you have those resources? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. I mean, you probably, a general random person probably doesn't know as much as they think they do about, like, as compared to an organization that does this all the time. So,
Right. And especially setting up transport and stuff, because what I did learn was these abortion networks apparently like set up safe travel,
mhm,
safe lodging, safe transportation, stuff like that. So, as
yeah,
far as I understood, what is needed is money. And I would assume even time, if you can volunteer your time. And even if your time is just to update the website or something or do some data entry. I
yeah,
do need to look into this more, but it does sound like it's a real difference in people's health and safety and lives could be made.
mhm,
And I'm truly dismayed that it's come to this, but again, this is not a new attack on pregnancy rights and
yeah,
rights to safe abortion and medical care. Um, and then I did get a little nervous when I was Googling around because I found a New York State site that abortion care being legal in New York, of course, it
mhm,
was pretty open about a lot of things. Like, here's a list of legitimate clinics, but then there's also the watch out, here's a list of illegitimate clinics. Be
yeah,
careful about these. And it made me remember, oh, that's right. There's also the clinics that lie.
Right. That pretend they're offering those services and then they really are just steering you away from.
Right.
Yeah.
And I I had kind of put that out of my mind.
Yeah.
That there are those clinics that say like, no, 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 we're absolutely Planned Parenthood, for example. We can give you advice on birth control. We can give you advice on your access to abortion. But really, they're just trying to brainwash you to not have an abortion.
Right. Right. Or stall you or give you incorrect medical information such that,
Yeah,
you know,
until it's too
you're
late.
until it's too late or until you're, you know, to decrease your options. Yeah. Which is extremely sinister.
It really is. And yeah, yeah, I can't think of anything that actually makes this better. When I was speaking with the Trump voter who misjudged how my mood would be, apparently, who has met me. I don't know. I don't know what this idea of I'm going to give Heather a call was.
Yeah.
I mean, really, where was I supposed to be? Like, they kept trying to bring up, like, well, at least you live in New York State. And I was like, there is no at least. There is no at least. And they kept acting like I was worried about my own medical care.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about
Well,
my own medical care.
and this is the problem too with people where, you know, nothing applies to them. And if it doesn't apply to you 100% directly in the moment, then you can't possibly be concerned about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Do you want to do a quick another topic?
Sure.
Because I have kind of a fun one that ties in a little bit with this. So Friday, the day Roe v. Wade was overturned, and
Mhm.
I was in quite a state. I went out to see the new Elvis movie with a friend.
Oh.
And the funny thing, this connects to Roe v. Wade because I was in, I was in terrible shape. It was at the little theater where I saw it. I've been to the little theater dozens of times and also used to work downtown. I got disoriented and walked 2 blocks the wrong way before I remembered where the little was.
Oh, sweetie.
Like, yeah, that I was in terrible shape. Like I showed up and my friend was like, "Hey, how are you doing?" I almost just started crying right there. Like I was a freaking mess. But you want to hear the fun thing about the movie?
Sure.
Friend of the show, Michael Polston,
Yeah.
who is an Elvis costume designer, did a whole ton of the outfits for it, all of the bedazzled jumpsuits.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes. And it was so cool. I remembered him saying, like, over the past couple years that he was working on the costumes for this big movie. And so I was like, oh, I definitely want to see that. Oh, wow, there's so much of your work in it. Yeah, I want to see it. So it was really exciting to
That is
like
exciting.
see all the bedazzling and go like, oh my God, my friend made that.
That is really exciting.
It really was. It was super duper neat. Um, and because my phone knew that I was at the movie,
Mhm.
now all I get in my social media feeds is stuff about this Elvis movie and stuff about Elvis in general. So I've been reading a lot of reviews of the movie.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I thought it was good. It was very fast paced. It was super long, and you know how I do with super long movies, which is not
Mhm.
well. And so the fact that it was really fast paced meant that I was fine sitting there for almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
But I thought it was good. It moved right along. I liked all the costuming. And the set design I thought was great. I liked looking at all the furniture and all that. I was into it. The actor who played Elvis, I can't remember his name. It was like his first big role in anything.
Okay.
And I thought he did a great job. Like I realized like I'm not an Elvis fan, but
Mhm.
I'm not an Elvis fan. So
Yeah.
I guess maybe if you were like the biggest Elvis fan in the world, you would be like, oh, well, he didn't quite do that dance move. Oh, well, he didn't quite pull that off. Oh, it fooled me.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm I like Elvis. I'm always sort of with Elvis. I'm always sort of like, this is going to sound very liberal white guy. This
No.
is how this is going to sound, but I'm always sort of like, oh, I'd rather just kind of listen to the black people that he copied. like I get, and I'm not say that's not, I'm not picking on Elvis in saying that. I do sort of feel like I do tend to be like, oh, okay, this music sort of came from somewhere. Like he did new stuff with it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's no artistry there whatsoever.
Um,
He just copied. That's not really fair. But I'm always sort of like, oh, I kind of like this stuff. I kind of like the genre of music that he sort of made
yeah.
popular, but before like he made it popular
Right.
because it was black people.
Yeah,
So it wasn't so popular. Yeah.
they do talk about that in the movie. I mean,
Hmm.
that's acknowledged
Yeah. But
quite a lot.
that's not just me being liberal white guy. Like I sort of like
Well,
that
that's also your musical
blues early
taste.
rock. That's kind of my musical
Yeah,
that's
that's
kind
like
of my musical
just you
taste.
in general and always has been. You're not just saying that because we're on the radio right now.
Right. So I mean, I respect there's artistry there I respect. But yeah, I'm not like the biggest Elvis guy. But
Yeah. Yeah, like I did not come home and, pull up the Elvis channel
mhm.
and listen to it or something. I liked it. I liked the movie. I liked the spectacle. I
Very
think I
nice.
liked being out instead of just staying home and howling.
Yeah.
I think that was good. Started driving home without my lights on. Still wasn't 100%.
Actually, really quick, I will tell you what I did this weekend, which
What
is
did you do?
probably a better choice. Actually, we watched RRR on Netflix, which is the it's a Tollywood movie. It's been a pretty big, fairly big, done fairly well in the United States though. It's again 3 hours, but we were at home, so it's fine. And it's a of course, action musical extraordinary, but it's set during
Mm.
it's set during pre-independence India, and it's based on two guys who were actually real. I learned, but I mean the movie is completely like, of course, the movie is completely wild. I mean, there's very little relationship to reality, but it was sort of cathartic in that it was very like all of the British people were 100% evil, almost all of them. And it was just a like it was just a like it was just a these people are these colonizers are evil, and the Indians are going to fight back and kill them all, and it's going to be great. And you're just like, it's so, I realize, I know how that sounds, but it's very satisfying. I mean, there's this point where they have this the English people, I don't want to give too much away, but they have this giant absurd like house and compound and whatever, and they're having this garden party with a million like British people. um and they the two guys like storm through the gate, and like you don't know, they've got this covered truck and you don't know what's in the truck. But then the truck flips over and they've got like like four tigers and like three leopards and like a deer, and the things just jump out and start like eating people. And it's just but it's so silly. I mean, it's so like it's very entertaining and very satisfying. I don't wish to encourage carnage against the English, but in the context of the movie, of like, this is pre-independence India and people are being oppressed and
Hmm.
enslaved, and it's very satisfying. And again, it's so silly that it's very violent, but it's so silly that it's hard to get too, I don't want to say silly's not the right word, but it's so it's so heightened. It's so like
Yeah.
not quite cartoony. It was a lot of fun. So,
Interesting. I don't
and
know
of
if
course
it's
big
that
musical
violent.
numbers, and
I
I
do
don't
love
know,
big musical numbers.
it's very violent, but it was a lot of like, it's a lot of CGI and a lot of like, I
Is
don't
it
know, like I said,
gory?
I mean, I don't know if you'd call it gory. I mean, there's a lot of violence, but like, and there's blood, but it's very, again, it's very, I don't, cartoony's not the right word, but it's very, um, it's a little Looney Tunes, the level of violence. Like, it's almost so over the top that it's a little silly. Like, I can be easily skeeved out these days, and I was just like
Yeah.
a couple times, I started clapping when the when the lion started running around and eating people. So like I was just giddy. So it's, I don't know. So it's, I thought it was a lot of fun,
Wow. See, look at that. We
and
even
it was
packed
filmed
in some. some movie recommendations.
It was filmed largely in Hyderabad, so
Oh, wow.
we're a place where we're from. I didn't recognize anything, but I
No,
think it was mostly in the studios. But
I would think so because I can't imagine they would do like the buildings we've been to.
right.
I don't know what those would have to do with anything.
Correct. All right. We
That one Starbucks.
well, I think we've taken you on our traditional ride, just
Yeah.
traditional whiplash type situation. So,
Yep.
I think we got to get out of here. But thank you so much. Next week, who knows where we'll be? Who knows where our head's going to be? But I don't know. Hang in there, everybody. I guess. I don't know what else. That's how we're just hang in there. Doing the best we can. Watch some movies. It's not it. I lost the thing. I don't know where this document is, where I had the thing, and it's lost forever, and we're just going to sit here and wait for me till I find the thing I'm looking for the stupid skit that's not even worth looking for. I found it. Okay, so I didn't take any chances for movie night. I picked films that would not confuse me in terms of gender anyway, because I just can't deal with it. It's just too complicated. So I got Free Guy, I got The Northman, I got King Richard, I got Cry Macho, which has got to be about guys, right? I got The Batman, and I got that new Jurassic Park World thing.
How does the new Jurassic Park fit in?
I don't know. I just feel like dinosaurs have very masculine energy, like all that stomping and knocking things over and making big poops and whatnot.
Sure, I can see that, I guess, but I'm not sure how to tell you all this. All the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park are female. It's a pretty major plot point.
It is also confusing.
I know, buddy. I know.
So are the dinosaurs all in the girls' aisle?
Yeah.
At Target?
That's where dinosaurs are.
It's confusing.
Because they got those eggs.
They got the eggs. I didn't know that about the eggs.
Yeah.
It makes sense when you say it.
It's the girls with the eggs.
The girls with the eggs.
Yeah.
God. This whole time.